This video is going to bring up some memories for you. In today's video, I am going to talk about things that my parents' generation either purchased or did that are no longer around, that, well, my generation at least probably doesn't buy. And I thought that would be fun to talk about how things have changed over the last, I'm 38 years. So stay tuned, let's have some fun conversation and reminisce about old times. Now, we are going to have fun with this. I'm going to give you all a challenge. I want you to think of a couple of things after you listen to my examples of things that your family's generation bought that you no longer or didn't buy would be a better way to say it. Now, I know I have a huge range of ages of viewers on my channel, so I think this is going to stir up some fun and interesting conversation. If I get enough interesting ones, I think I'll do a separate video on things that your parents bought that you did not. So make sure you go down in the comment section and put that stuff. Also, go down there and read the comments and like the ones that are your favorite. So I'll make sure to share those in the next video. The first one are newspapers. Now, my parents, they had a newspaper every single, I think Sunday at least. And let me tell you, I remember my parents haggling and negotiating and calling the newspaper company, I guess, and saying, you need to reduce the cost of this. It's too expensive. I remember my parents being frugal about the newspaper. Now, I still know people who do get the newspaper. And let me tell you my experience with the newspaper. I cannot stand it. If you've seen the movie, or not the movie, the series Downton Abbey, you've seen like the first episode where, I think that was like 1912 was the first episode. They iron the newspaper for Lord Grantham to read so that his fingers wouldn't get inky. Well, I could not stand the touch, the feel of newspaper. If you agree, make sure you give this video a like. I was the one who would go down to the end of the road and get the newspaper and the mail out of the mailbox, and I would legitimately take my shirt and put the newspaper in my shirt so I did not have to touch it. That is how heebie-jeebie the newspaper was to me and how much I did not want to get the ink on my hands. The second one is a full cable TV package. Oh my goodness, I remember the exact time when we had the cable company rep come in and sell us the package, because before all we had was the black and white TV. And I remember being so enthralled by this. All of these channels, which back then, I think it may have been 20 something channels, but that was a huge upgrade, right? This was probably, I don't know, was this the late 80s or the early 90s, like 90, 89, 90, 91, maybe somewhere around there when we got it. And it's funny that I remember they gave you the TV guide, which, showed you which channel was what. ABC was channel 9, ABC News or whatever that was. And he had drawn a face of himself, a cartoon face of himself on it. Well, looking back at that now, that was the big thing, was the cable television and having availability for all of these new channels. And to think back at then and where we are now with television, with media, with streaming services, the advancement in that 30-something years has been lightning speed as comparison to before. And now, people are saying, no, get rid of your cable TV package. It's too expensive. I don't remember how much it was back then. I'm going to go with maybe 25, 30 bucks. I have no clue if that's even anywhere near what it was. But I do remember, that it wasn't obviously too expensive for my family at that time, and we did not have a lot of money. It was a splurge. However, they enjoyed it. But to see how much a cable package is now and how many channels you get with it and how everybody's like, nope, get rid of the cable TV. Guess that only had a good, 35-year run? Okay, who remembers the Encyclopedia Britannica door-to-door salesman? I do. So this was back, I guess, when door-to-door sales was still a thing, and you guys probably remember people who did that too. And now, obviously, not very safe thing to do. Not that it was completely safe back then, but definitely not safe now. Door-to-door salesmen came by, and I remember us sitting on the front porch my parents deciding which ones to get. Now kids, anybody younger, realize that there was no internet. There was no researching things on your phone. There was going to the library, which wasn't that close to us. And so if we had to do a science project or, do a report on, I don't know, somebody, an ex-president, or learn something about math that wasn't in our school textbooks, that was where you got that information. Now, here's the interesting part. Those boring books, how many of them were there? Oh, at least 2 shelves worth. And I think it was like a 3-foot wide bookcase we had. So at least 2 shelves worth of these books, these thick books. And I'm going to tell you, I may have touched them a handful of times for just random reasons. Not ever needed them. Anything I ever needed in school was in the school textbook. That's the purpose of it. And I tell you, I think my parents spent a pretty good penny on those books. It was probably a couple $100, if not more. Okay, do you remember VHS, cassette tapes? I mean, this was like records were still around. We had a record player, but my generation, the early 80s, it was really VHS, it was cassettes still. My brother and I had this recorder thing that it was funny. I remember us singing or recording the Ghostbusters theme too. And then what's funny is we also used it. My mom would tell us that she didn't snore, right? And my dad's joke his whole entire life, bless him in heaven, he would say, I don't snore. I stayed up all night one night and I didn't snore. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, exactly. But with my mom. So we thought, okay, and now keep in mind, my brother's 4 years older than me. We decided to take that cassette recorder and record her snoring. It was hilarious. And she can sound like a train coming through. For sure. So my husband said I've started to get a little bit more snory as I've gotten older, and I'm like, oh, am I going to go there? But the point is, VHS, cassettes, and has anybody seen that people who have like VHS in the box still, like Disney movies, can sell those for a lot of money? But how about the cassettes? Whenever the little tape, remember when the tape would, or you would just for giggles pull the tape down and then you would wind it back up. You would make mixtapes for people, or you would wait till your song came on the radio because you couldn't afford to buy the cassette. You would wait for the song to come on the radio. You had your recorder, the little cassette recorder, and the song would come on and you would hit record real quick. Obviously, the quality playback was not all that fantastic, but, you had to do what you had to do back in the day. And now, then CDs became all the rage. And now they have this thing called, just online streaming platforms where you don't actually have to have anything physical in your hand or buy a whole album. Yeah, the world has completely changed. How about a landline? No, and no. There was it Pat? Was it you that on the channel, I think she'd said she had a landline and she finally looked at it, and if it's not you, Pat, it's somebody else who, who comments a lot and I absolutely love talking to in the comment section. But something about, I think it was, she finally saw that her landline was costing her $96, but the actual cost of the landline was only $49. So 50% of the cost was taxes, fees, and some other admin charges. It was astronomical. My mom still has a landline, and I'll be at her house, and that phone will ring with spam calls. And how annoying is that? Especially for me, if you call, I go to bed super early. Super early because I get up really early. If I had a landline and people were randomly calling me, that's the good thing about a cell phone. You could just turn the ringer off, which is absolutely genius. We have no reason for a landline. I know when I met my husband first, he did have a phone in the wall, but that was just for emergencies because I think you could still call 911 if you have a phone in the wall, but nobody else called us or anything. But I know a lot of people still have them. I I can't see the cost of a cell phone on top of the cost of a landline. I mean, I get it for, you know, the cell phone towers go out, etc. But it's a bit much if you have both and you combine the two. Talking about cell phones, do you remember cell phone minutes? You know, when you had a certain amount of minutes, and I'm not talking about when text messages rolled around. I'm talking about when it was just you talk on the phone and you only had a certain amount of minutes. And then your kids, now this wasn't me, but I remember hearing stories of other kids about my age going over in their cell phone minutes so much that I don't remember how much the company would charge per extra minute, but parents would be getting bills for $500-$600 of overages on minutes because you could only, you know, talk to people for so long, which let me tell you, as a teenager, and there wasn't, you know, social media and apps and stuff like that for you to chat. That's how you chatted with your friends. You were just on the phone for like 60 minutes, hour, 2 hours. I mean, you'd be doing your homework and there would be a long pause because there would be a new episode of Saved by the Bell on and you were just watching it, but yet you were still on the phone with Jessica. I mean, oops. Used the minutes, huh? Okay, this one is like the one thing I really legitimately miss. Like legitimately. The nostalgia here is just my thing, right? And that is Blockbuster. Does anybody have, you know, just good, fond memories of Blockbuster? There's just something about on Netflix or on any other streaming platform, scrolling through and looking at the movies that doesn't appeal to me. There was something amazing about walking into Blockbuster, again, when they had the VHSs even, and what's funny is they would only have the one empty box VHS with like the picture of the movie and on the back the description, and then you would have the Blockbuster cases all behind those, or you had to take the blank one, the empty one, up, and then they'd go in the back and bring the movie out to you. Who remembers that? And then you could buy popcorn and candy on the way out. That was like the date night thing to do. Go get a Blockbuster, go out to eat, then go get a Blockbuster movie, come back home, watch it with your parents around, or, you know, parents just around the corner. That was the thing to do, was the Blockbuster. And there was just something about seeing the movies in front of you and walking around and seeing all the different titles and being able to easily turn the little box over and read what it was about. I miss me some Blockbuster. I miss you, Blockbuster. I admit it. If you enjoyed this video talking about things that we used to pay money for, you know, a generation ago that we no longer do, and see how things have changed and really take time to reflect on it, then make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget my challenge to you. My challenge to you is come up with a couple of things, not on my list, that a generation before you did, purchased, bought, that in your generation is completely gone or mostly obsolete. I would love to reminisce with you in the comments down below as well. Again, if you enjoyed the video, click on that like button. Also, subscribe to my channel. Both things really do help me out, and I always appreciate your support.